I've got old people in my comment section telling me that the young are lazy, they don't want to find jobs, they don't want to work hard, and they have very high standards. At the same time, I have young people in the comment section telling me that old people are deluded, the world doesn't work how they did back in the day, and it's very, very difficult to find a job. Well, today we're going to look at the reality of it. We're going to look at the facts, see who's actually telling the truth, and what the jobs market is like today, especially for young people. Because if you're on the older side of things, chances are you might be okay, right? You've probably got some career experience and all that sort of stuff, which means it's a lot easier for you to find a job. And I think that ties into this conversation before we even get started. I think on both sides of the equation, there's a lot of circumstantial understanding and a lot of survivorship bias in a way on both ends. We have the old people who understand how the jobs market was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whilst failing to acknowledge that in the modern day you cannot walk into most places with a nice outfit, a clean haircut and a good attitude and ask for a job. There's data protection rules which mean that they just can't hire you unless you go through online, which means that a lot of people who may not be the best at writing in jobs where it doesn't matter, like retail for example, they would not get hired because their academic skills or their credentials on paper aren't good, but their people skills might be great, so that's a big difference. On the opposite end of the scale, we have a lot of young people, I think, that fail to understand how the older generations afforded what they did. Yes, they may have had it easier in terms of house prices and even access to good, stable jobs, but at the same time, they were still working 40 hours a week. And a lot of young people, they're not very happy about that. Now, I know that we're less than 2 minutes into this video, so I don't say that to polarize anybody, but I need to acknowledge this as a blatant fact for one reason. It allows us to understand where both ends of people are coming from. But let me tell you a little bit about what I'm seeing in the jobs market and why it seems so hard for a lot of these young people to actually find jobs. So I think, based on the experience that I've seen, it is actually more challenging than people like to think. I've been applying for hundreds of jobs over the past couple of months, and people might say, why? Well, let me give you a little bit on my backstory. For example, this might help correlate into some real world experience as someone who's been doing this. I have not been looking for these high paying jobs. A lot of people say, well, the reason why you can't get employed is because you expect a big office job. No. I'm already a student, I'm already a business owner. I need to have a job that fits around these sorts of things, and that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to work any hours, right? I'll do full time, if we can work on shift patterns, I'll do minimum wage, anything to just get a bit of money coming in and actually keep me entertained at the same time. So I'll do anything. I've been applying for lots of jobs in lots of different fields. This is where people think that a lot of the young people are going wrong. They're going for these high-end jobs. Not the case at all. I've been applying for retail, I've been applying for food, I've been applying for restaurants, I've been applying for offices, and out of the hundreds of job applications that I have put in, I actually got 4 interviews. Now, I think, based off my memory, the numbers that we're up to now for job applications is about 250. Again, all different sorts of retail stores, all different, just really basic minimum wage jobs that don't require much skills. And again, 4 interviews. One of which I basically got turned down for. The interview got cancelled for no fault of my own. For some reason, it just wasn't a thing anymore. So we had 3. There was 2 positions that I actually got accepted for, one of which I took. Both of these positions were kind of equally bad from a sort of sustainability standpoint, because what we had is these sort of 0 hours contracts, right, with no set working hours, no set pay, and a lot of different challenges that come with that. Now, luckily for me, like I say, I have businesses of my own. I don't necessarily need the money that much, and I also have a lot of other stuff going on. I'm a student, I'm trying to get good grades, but at the same time, if I apply for a job, it's because I want experience, it's because I want to fill my time, it's because I want money. Jobs where you're working 1 day this week, 7 days the next. Okay, maybe not 7, but maybe 5 days the next and 1 day the next week. It's very unpredictable, it's very unsustainable, and they're not necessarily ideal for anybody. Now, it's actually funny because, yeah, I understand office jobs or skilled jobs, they can pay more. And when you have those skills, they're a lot more accessible. But obviously, that's something different. That's something that I might be looking at in a year or 2. Right now, I'm genuinely trying to maintain some degree of flexibility. Like I say, I'm not afraid to work even full time if we can work it around things. But it's funny, these low skilled, low paying jobs are apparently the ones that are needed filling the most. Office workers, not so much. They're not like urgently needed in terms of what the application says. However, the amount of people that I know who struggle, and they've had the same experience, right? Like I say, I did get a job in the end, but the future of that is obviously shaky, not necessarily because of anything that I've done, it's just the way the contract is. It's very difficult to find any kind of stable job for young people without any long-term experience. So these jobs that are urgently needed, well, apparently we're told on the news all the time, young people are lazy, they don't want to work, they're not willing to fill them. And for the argument of this section, I'm not even going to make it in relation to pay. I'm not going to speak about the fact that pay's perhaps not good or is good. I'm not going to speak about benefits or working hours. I'm just going to say applying in general. The amount of jobs that I've needed to apply for to even get a couple of interviews, again, these are not particularly good jobs. People might say, well, it's because you only want to work in this shop. No. Everywhere from the fast food to the high-end luxury shops I've applied for, right? Almost all of them. Close to my home, far from my home, even sometimes 1-2 towns away, just to see what I can find. And it is, to me at least, slightly concerning that it's this challenging. And again, I feel like this is a challenge that's a lot more modern because the internet has kind of created this. It's like when we spoke the other week about dating, the fact that you now have the ability to see only the best options. It's exactly the same with jobs. So this works great for the employer, not so much for the employee. Because think about it, like I say, I might on paper be a weak candidate. In real life, I might be a great candidate. I might not. But who's going to find out? Talk about years of experience. It's very, very hard to get it when you're not going to get hired anywhere in the first place. And I know some people will point back to the first point that I mentioned, the fact that you can obviously apply for hundreds of jobs and you will find something. Yeah, you will. And you might find a job that's actually a lot better. You might find something that's full-time, well-paid, or with set hours and all these sorts of good things. But at the same time, we're not talking about jobs as a Hollywood actor here. We're not talking about being the next influencer or any of these rare skills or luxuries. We're talking about basic, low-paying, low-skilled jobs, which generally have high turnover, which is another funny thing about it because, again, who is being hired? Who is the winner here? I don't understand it. Now, there is also an alternative. And I think when I make these videos, people cannot seem to take the context as a very valid point, right? When I make a video saying that jobs are hard to get, I'll have a load of old people in the comment section telling me it's easy. When I make a video saying that jobs are easy to get, I'll have a load of young people in the comments telling me it's hard. It's easy if you're going to do numbers. It's easy if you're going to take a sacrifice in conditions. So what I mean by that is this. Like I say, I am a student. I think that's actually the main thing, because that's the kind of thing that's going to help me to advance my future career. And without going into too much details, because I want to be the sort of person who shows it rather than says it. If I play my cards right, there is a sort of career path that I could go down, which is going to be hopefully quite stable and decently paid. But obviously I need to complete my degree to do that. I've seen certain jobs that I can get which are fairly well paid, but they're going to be full-time, hours that would not work with my study, and that is actually very relevant and important. If I was having nothing to do, fair enough, but like I say, it's the most simple jobs that are a bit more complicated to get. And as much as some people might say, well, that's just laziness, you should have applied for hundreds more, or you should have increased your skills. Like I say, if we're talking about positions in retail, bar work, any sort of hospitality job as it's called, there's not really much you could, what am I going to do a training course in customer? It's not realistic, is it? These are the kind of jobs that you should be getting at age 16 to 25, again, whilst you're at college, whilst you're a university student, maybe whilst you just want to experience the world, right? Basic jobs. People are still willing to work in them, at them, for them, but the numbers that I'm speaking about here of applications to acceptance for interviews, not even getting the job, mind you, is, I think, around what most people are going to see. And believe it or not, guys, my experience with this will be quite open-minded because, like I say, a lot of people need money. Even though I wanted it, and I do still want it, when I was looking for a job, I was looking for something that was just going to be an experience, good or bad. And I know that's going to be a luxury that most people don't have because most people, again, they're going to need the money. they're going to need set working hours. I was just looking for anything, and even then it was so much of a struggle to find any sort of a job. And that's not me complaining, it's just outlining some facts. I don't really care. I have savings, I have businesses that are already making me money online, enough to live on, to be fair. It's not that huge of a problem for me, so please don't take this video as a complaint, but this is just the reality of the jobs market for today. Push hard enough to enough shops and places, and you will find some even minimum wage job that will accept you. But the reality of it is this: we talk about, well, people can get these urgently needed jobs or Christmas temps. It's funny because now I actually have work experience. I have an abundance of free time because I am actually off university until about January time. We don't need to go into that, that's a different story, different episode. But so I've got all the free time. I'm very willing to accept anything. And I just thought, right, I've already got one job. I've still got a lot of free time. Let's go for two jobs. Maybe one in the morning, one at night. If I can get them quite close to each other, maybe I can walk between them or go from one straight to the other. And even then, Christmas temps, very, very difficult. Urgently needed. Apparently not. We're not, again, I need to emphasize this. We're not talking about places where you need, driving experience, even though I have got a car and a license, but we're not talking about jobs that involve driving or other high risk. We're talking about sitting behind a till or stacking some shelves. They're not hiring as much as people might like to think. And yeah, like I say, you can still get in, but the numbers that you need to crunch and do to get in these jobs is a lot higher than perhaps it should be. Wrongly or rightly, there is nothing that we can do to really affect this, right? The truth of it is, this is just the way it is, and we can't influence this positively or negatively. If the jobs market is going to be like this, it's going to be like this, and you'll just have to pick up what you can, you'll have to get what jobs you can and do what you can do. But at the same time, this is how it is, right? I can still apply every day, I can still do multiple applications a week, a day, a month. I can still work the job that I work and gain experience in that, but the truth of it is this, and this is what a lot of people are unwilling to accept. It's not necessarily that young people are lazy, it's that it's a lot harder to even get the basic opportunities and experiences that, you might arguably take for granted. And if we move on to the topic of graduate jobs or anything like that, well, now we're talking about something completely different. Yeah, I'm aware, guys, that there are some industries that will still hire me, or you. But here's the thing, right? It stops becoming a case of, oh, pick yourself up and go do something, when a lot of young people are trying to do that in the first place by getting a degree, or a master's, or a college education, or an apprenticeship, right? A lot of these people want to work, but never mind no incentives. They're not getting past the first hurdle. And that appears to be the truth for a larger and larger number of people, and I don't understand it. Again, these are not high-paying, high-skilled jobs. These are the basic jobs with high turnover. Maybe that's got something to do with it. But these are the jobs that, in theory, no one would want to do. They're the lowest in the chain. And again, traditionally picked up by students, college, school even, and university. Anyway, let me know in the comment section. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is it easier than ever? Am I just being lazy again? As I always am when I talk about these topics. Or is there some truth to what I'm saying? I don't know, you guys will tell me in the comment section, I'm sure you always do. Do let me know whether you think this was a good video or not. I'm sure you will, and I'll of course respond with you guys too. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.